Hello there, guys. Today we'll be talking about a very difficult platinum, and that's for the Curse of the Dead Gods. We've got 12 story related trophies and 18 miscellaneous trophies. Now, let's get into it. And as always, guys, we are on the PlayStation profile for Curse of the Dead Gods. You can see in the middle of the screen, we have 390 players platinuming this game, and that equates to 1.63% off overall players platinuming the game. Yep, that's a pretty low number. If you know anything about me and the journey of this game, you will know that I've been chipping away at this game. I kind of got sick of it, and I put my foot down and I said, yes, let's just go for the platinum. I've been playing this game straight for it felt like weeks, but I think realistically it was a good amount of days. And yes, I've finally got the platinum. And I am super proud of this one. I will give you I'll give you a few tips along the way as well, and I'll be reviewing the trophy list. So let's get cracking, guys. As always, we scroll down, and if you just see here, this first page, all of these trophies are related to the bosses and basically the levels, right? All of these ones here, this first one is the tutorial, so you will naturally do this. You'll naturally do all of these, but for some levels, they can be really, really difficult. Overall, the game is quite difficult, man. There's no formal guide on PlayStation profiles. If you scroll back up, there isn't a guide. But if I was to give, an arbitrary number to this game, I would say it's close to like an 8 or a 9. I think some people would probably say 10 out of 10 just because of one trophy, but we will get to that, and I'll talk more about that one trophy. But yeah, these ones, you can just see by the rarity as well. So this, yeah, clearly, this is kind of like the tutorial room, easy enough. But when you go down, like the lowest is 2.52, and that's for basically completing the game, right? Only 2.52% of players have fully completed the game. When you initially complete all of the levels, you unlock hard mode, and it's basically the game pulling the rug out of you because you thought that you just finished the game by defeating the final boss. But no, that was just normal mode. Now you've unlocked hard mode, and yes, it is pretty difficult. Yeah. Oh, this game, man. It was really, really difficult. So those were the story related ones. Those were the 12, and I'll just chip away at the remaining miscellaneous ones. This diligence one, complete 10 different special events. The special events are daily events, meaning you basically have to wait 10 days to do these events. Now, when you initially load the game, I'm pretty sure you do unlock 3 from the start. I might be wrong, but basically just think of it like this. Each day, a special event will appear. You will have to complete it, meaning you cannot die. If you die, you have to do another one on another day. So that's why that particular trophy is sitting at a 2.71% rarity, because yes, you have to log into the game and play this game basically 10 separate times. There are ways around this, but yeah, so like the ways being, instead of waiting one day and doing it every day, you can wait 3 days and you can do 3 special events in that one day. So, but again, you are still waiting for the special events to kind of pop up. So yeah, that's totally understandable why that is a 2.71% rarity, because the special events aren't easy as well. The special events impose really specific restrictions on you. So yeah, I can totally understand why this is such a low rarity. So yeah, the blessings, these are, so specifically devotion, unlock 20 blessings of the dead gods. Think of these like your upgrades. So there are specific abilities, and they change the game in different ways. They give you like speed boost or damage reduction. One of the best ones in my opinion is the greed counter, which is one of the mechanics in the game. If you've played it, you'll be familiar. It's kind of like the combo kind of timer mechanic. One of the best blessings is the greed counter does not it basically stops when there's no enemies around. So when you're exploring the level after you've defeated the enemies, the greed counter will stop. Normally it will continue to kind of run out, and then you lose your greed counter. So it means that you can basically get a lot of gold, and part of that blessing you actually get damage bonus, I'm pretty sure. So that's the best one. Yeah, so 20 blessings. That's basically all of the blessings in the game, I'm pretty sure. Maybe one or two. So, but you will be doing this naturally as well, because you'll be getting a lot of skulls if you're going to be grinding. And yes, this game, on top of its difficulty, is also very, very grindy. And I would argue there's one trophy in this list that is truly a platinum killer. And I thought this was going to be a platinum killer, but I had some perseverance and I just went for it, man. The 20 Forsaken weapons, so collection, the trophy collection, it's basically, as it says on the Tin Man, you can unlock a bunch of different weapons, and if it was me playing the game for the first time, I would prioritize the claw and the gun combo. Those two are probably the best combination of weapons in the game. And and just unlock 20 of them. Also, the cursed weapons are quite good, but yeah. So just bear that in mind. Claw and gun, and I also really like bow. What I like about this game is you can really experiment with different combinations of weapons. So it really depends on your playstyle. And yeah, just basically go ham, buy some weapons, and you'll get a trophy. Right, here we go. We're gonna skip essay and we're gonna go straight to the platinum killer, in my opinion. Memoirs. So in the game, you have this. It's basically like a diary, right? And to write the entries, you have to defeat a certain amount of enemies. You're talking maybe, I'm pretty sure it's like 100 or like a couple hundred enemies of a specific type. I might be completely wrong on that, but it is like a fairly big number of the base enemy. And that's also including the bosses. However, if you notice here, with their complete sketches, to get the complete sketches for the base enemies and for the bosses, you have to defeat a certain amount of the same enemy, the elite version of that enemy, 50 times without getting hit. That is ludicrous. Some of the base enemies are actually quite hard to dodge. The ones that come to mind are the Dreadful Offspring, the baby one found in the Eagle Temple, the Eagle explorations. From the Serpent, it would be the Skull projectile enemy. Can't remember what the name is, but yeah, that one's hard to dodge. especially when there's multiple enemies around. And the last one from Jaguar, it's the big headless guy with the axe or like the hammer or something. Yeah, those three base enemies, difficult. Now, this also includes the bosses. You need to know every single boss in the game and their patterns. You just need to know how to beat them without getting hit. Now, you don't have to beat them 50 times, thankfully. I think 50 is way too high for the base enemies. That's just really grindy. I wish it was like maybe 25 or even 20 times. I think that would have been really healthy for the game. But 50 times, that was awful. But for the bosses, it's 10 times. For some of the bosses, though, that is really difficult. The most difficult boss, excluding the final boss, it would probably be the Dark Avatar of the Eagle. That one was pretty difficult. At the end, I did find a way to defeat them consistently without getting hit, but it takes a lot of practice. Now, okay, we've talked about all of this, talking about, Jaguar, Eagle, Serpent, and the mobs and the bosses, all of that kind of stuff. The final stage is called the Pantheon, and this mixes all three temples into one run, right? The Pantheon has specific entries. These entries include using gold offerings in the final room, and you have to use these particular temples that are asking, hey, give us gold, give gold to these, dead gods. You need to give the maximum amount you can for each temple, for each god. I'm pretty sure it's like 10 times. It's something ludicrous. So you have to do the Pantheon minimum 10 times, right? That is pretty grindy. And just on average, guys, just so you know, the Pantheon, if you go quick, you can maybe do this in about half an hour, or even like 35 minutes. But for average, for me, it was like 45 minutes. It's a pretty significant amount of time to do one run. So to ask the player to do this 10 times and have enough gold to give each temple, each temple asks for 5,000 gold. You need to rely on either picking up as much gold as you can, have high perception, or grabbing relics that help you with gold and the gold offerings. You can reduce the gold offerings by a certain percentage if you have a particular relic. There are ways around it, but yeah, you have to be pretty lucky to get max gold for each of them. So minimum, you have to have 15,000. So 15,000 gold for a run while you're going through the run and spending gold. Yeah, it is pretty hard going. And that's not it. You think I'm done? There's a reason why this trophy is a platinum killer. There's another one in the Pantheon, and it involves you getting the final curse lifted in the Pantheon. This is actually the easiest one out of all of them, but yeah, if you basically play in a certain way that you're actually incorporating the curses, that's just one of the mechanics in the game. If you're just incorporating that into your playstyle and then getting the final curse just before a boss, you can then lift the final curse when you defeat the boss, so it's fine. Yeah, I think that one's probably the most doable one. So, with all of that in mind, there's two more. There's two more that I want to talk about. Okay, you have to defeat the final boss 5 times without getting hit. That sounds doable, right? Okay. He's got 2 phases. The first phase is pretty easy. However, during the first phase, he does spawn enemies. If you get hit by any of those enemies, some of them are elites, by the way, so more powerful versions of the base enemies. If you get hit by them, that counts as you actually getting hit by the boss because he summoned them. So basically, no hit whatsoever. Just bear in mind, though, I've found this out. If you get hit by the curses, it's kind of like a unique thing that happens in the final boss. If you are cursed, the curses themselves actually start attacking you. So you see the curse head pop up and then slam down on you. If you actually get hit by that curse or any of the curses, that doesn't actually count as a no hit. That does still count as a no hit. Even though you get hit, it will still count as a no hit because that doesn't actually count as the boss hitting you, which is really strange. But yeah, just keep that in mind. And yeah, so you have to do that 5 times. The second phase, he gets weapons out, and it is pretty much RNG which weapons he will use against you. He can use claws, he can use gun, and I think it's sword. And I'm actually misremembering. No, it is sword and gun, and the third one is like some sort of axe. Now, depending on which weapons he uses, it will be a different attack pattern. So you will need to know basically every possible pattern in that fight to stand a chance. I do have to say, there is actually an exploit with this final boss, and I did use this a couple of times. And it does involve claw and gun. It's that combination, and you need to have curses on you when you're going into the final fight. The reason is you can basically manipulate the final boss AI to never attack you in that fight whatsoever. So you can bypass the first phase and you can bypass the second phase and then kill it. So yeah, if you type into YouTube how to do that, or even look at some of the comments in the forums for this game, you will be able to find that strategy and see videos on how to do it. So yeah, I would highly recommend that for the final one. I'm not even done with this one trophy, man. You are in for a ride. This is the last thing that I'll say about this trophy. For the Pantheon, the last thing is called, I think it's the last memory, or like the lost memory or something. And that entails you to complete the final stage 2 times in a row. Complete it. Yeah, no, just complete it. Yeah. Imagine you just completed the hardest stage in the game. You completed the main story, and the game is now asking you, how about you do that again? Are you that good? Yeah, so obviously I tried to do it, and thankfully I was really lucky and I managed to do it. But yeah, if you don't get good weapons and you just don't get good relics, or if RNG is not on your side, yeah, that is really difficult. Okay, I promise you, this is going to be the final thing. The worst thing about this trophy, the memoirs, is the amount of elite base enemies that you need to kill. I don't even mind killing the bosses no hit 10 times. I actually don't mind that. It should have really been like maybe 5 for each boss, and maybe once for the final boss. Like, I think that would have been a little bit more sensible. But asking players to defeat elite enemies, the base enemies, without getting hit 50 times, that is absurd. The reason is there's some elite enemy versions that do not spawn frequently. So, for instance, I mentioned the headless axe guy, the skull one from the serpent that fires those projectiles. Those aren't reliable at all to grind. They can basically only be found in the third level of the third exploration. So with each exploration, you have one exploration, then the second one, then the third one. The best one to grind, in my opinion, if you're looking for specific enemies from a specific god. Let's say I want a particular enemy from Jaguar, so the Red Temple. I will go to the third level of Jaguar, and I will go through the game, so through the run, and you will hit the third area, so the third level, right? So third level, third area, right? You get that. You only have a finite amount of rooms to find elite enemies. And this is where the RNG comes in. It is not even guaranteed that you will find that enemy. And you will not be guaranteed a good number of that specific enemy in one run, you know? So maybe the maximum that you would be able to find would probably be maybe like 5 or 6. That was the average for me. And that was the average for me because I used save scumming. I save scummed only at this particular point in the game when I was trying to grind for the mobs. The only other time that I used save scumming was for the final boss and the getting no hit on the final boss. But that was the only time really that I used it. And yeah, so specifically with the no hits, yeah, I was using that. But basically for everything else, no, I wasn't really. So yeah, that's really, really, really grindy. I can't emphasize that enough. And that will be truly a platinum killer for most players. That's why this platinum is so rare to begin with. It is literally because of this one trophy. And I think people just get put off by it. So, yep, I don't think the rarity will jump anytime soon. I don't think the majority of players are prepared to put in this many hours into the game. So yeah, and that's the memoirs. That is the trophy. It's to the point, by the way. I've put this trophy in my trophy cabinet because that's how much it means to me. It was a really difficult trophy, and when I got that one, I got the platinum. So yeah. Okay, that was a huge segment on one trophy, but don't worry, guys. I think every other one is pretty much like safe. Restoration, unlock all weapon altars. You will need a lot of blue skulls, but if you're picking them up throughout the game, and if you're grinding for memoirs, yep, you will be naturally getting a lot of blue skulls. If you want a lot of blue skulls for the start of the game, I would recommend doing the special events as soon as possible. And if you manage to complete them, you get a lot of skulls. So yeah, so do the special events, do the main game, and you will get skulls for the weapon altars. You can also use the skulls for the blessings. But yeah, I would say the weapon altars are probably some of the best upgrades that you can get, and also the divine favors. If you have some extra skulls to spend, get some divine favors under your belt. I would actually recommend maybe 5. Try and aim for 5 as soon as possible as well, because that will make your life a lot easier. Get 3 successful parries in less than 2 seconds. There's some enemies that do multi-hitting moves, so if you get the chance to parry those attacks, it is actually quite easy, so don't worry about that one. It sounds daunting, but it is pretty easy when you get used to the timing. Achieve a 10 times greed skill Screed Skill? Did I say that right? Greed Kill. Greed Skill. Greed Kill series. So yeah, so that's basically killing 10 enemies in quick succession. So that was pretty easy. Left the final curse. I did touch on this earlier. When you get cursed a certain amount of times, I'm pretty sure it's 4 times. The 5th curse will become the final curse, and your curse. So with that one, when you're cursed by the final curse, your health slowly deteriorates to 1, and that means when your HP is at 1, the next hit will basically kill you. So yeah, when you get good enough at the game and when you're comfortable enough, the final curse starts to not scare you, to be honest. So but yeah, for noobs, beginners, intermediates, yeah, this is a pretty hard going thing to experience. But yeah, it's totally doable. Totally doable. Equip a hidden champion weapon. Now, I'm not actually aware how to get these consistently. I know there was a post in the forums I'm pretty sure they talked about this. Maybe they talked about it elsewhere. But yeah, there are guides for getting the hidden champion weapons. I'm pretty sure there's actually a YouTube video talking about it. So yeah, so if you're having trouble with this one, if you've been playing for a couple of hours and you've not got the hidden champion weapon yet, yeah, just look out for that video. Make 10 blood offerings during a single exploration. I think you will naturally do this when you get comfortable with the game, because with certain curses, you start to realize that some of them help you more than they hinder you. So for instance, there's one that makes enemies invisible, but you get increased attack power when you are in darkness. So if you're going for no hit anyway, you don't really care about the light, and just having that increased damage is just amazing. So yeah, and and the thing is, you will be using blood offerings more when you're doing the final run, because you need to save up your gold. So I actually do think it is totally doable. Again, with the final exploration, so like the Pantheon, you can make blood offerings, and when you get cursed, if you're really, really nervous about it, you can do one of the sub bosses in the run just before the mandatory boss. So that can lift the curse that you just got from making too many blood offerings. But yeah, like it's totally doable in Pantheon. So yeah, I recommend doing it then. The next 3 are specifically for the attributes that you can get in the game, which are Constitution, Dexterity, Perception. In simpleton terms, Constitution is your health, Dexterity is your damage, and Perception is basically your luck stat. It affects gold and the rarity of items that you find, or the frequency of items that appear. Yep, this is definitely luck based. It really depends. Some blessings do help you along the way. So if you're looking for perception, look for the one that increases perception. I would say prioritize, the attribute rooms if you're explicitly going for this. Every time this happens to me, every trophy from the 3, all 3 were done basically by accident. So, and that was just because I was grinding, and it just so happened that I met the threshold of 50 or more of each attribute. So, yeah. And last but not least, Temptation. Equip the 3 weapon slots with cursed weapons. This is much easier when you get the full upgrades of the weapon altars. So when the weapon altars are fully upgraded, you can have, I think it's a 10 or 15% chance of finding a cursed weapon at the altar. And if you have the maximum altars available, all upgraded, you will naturally find at least like one cursed weapon. Even if you don't, you can actually reset the altars by starting a run and then quitting a run straight away. So it literally takes maybe a minute and you get new weapons. If you're super lucky, you might get two. And if you're extremely lucky, you might get three. I've never had three from the very get go, but yeah, I have actually had two in the past at the start of the run, and yeah. So let's say you have a curse weapon to begin with. How are you gonna find the other two? Now, part of it is luck. Part of it is if you know how to get the champion hidden weapon, you can do that to have a better chance of getting a curse weapon. You can also do the challenge rooms, specifically the chest room, and that asks you to defeat a certain amount of enemies without getting hit. But if you get hit, you lose the chance to open the chest. The chest guarantees one cursed item. That includes the relics as well. So just keep that in mind. You might not be able to get a cursed weapon. You might get a cursed relic. So yeah, those are my main tips for that. And that's that is all of the trophies for this game. Before you go, I'll just give my overall impressions and just a full review, I guess. This is a really difficult game. There is a good reason why 1.63% of players have the platinum. That trophy, Memoirs, is it's a platinum killer, man. That is a definition. That is the definition of a platinum killer trophy. I would actually recommend the game casually. I think casually it is just a nice game to play. Pretty hard going, but it is a solid game. If you liked games like Hades and all of that kind of stuff, or even games like Bastion, I would actually recommend it. I would actually compare it more to Bastion because Bastion is more rhythmic. Hades is pretty fast paced, just based on gameplay that I've watched. But yeah, this is definitely rhythmic. You need to know when to dodge, when to parry, when to attack. You need to know the patterns of each enemy, all of the enemies in the game, because you need to get no hits on literally 50 or 10 if you're talking about bosses times. So it is on top of the grind, it is difficult, and on top of the difficulty, it is a grind. So yeah, that's all that I've got to say about this platinum. This is one of the big ones for this year, man. I cannot believe I've got this platinum. Definitely one of the best platinums I've achieved. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.